It's Jim Prevost and Becky Wright.
Shaggers.
The Shaggers, the original Shaggers.
Yeah.
Thought we'd play a little beach music to start out.
I won't sing. I'll say really bad from singing.
Go ahead, Becky.
No, I can't do it anymore.
Really, we're not dancing in our mind. This is what we do.
Well, I am. I'm dancing in my mind. Right now, probably couldn't get my feet going the right way. I don't know.
Hey, Wesley LeGrand.
Hey, Wesley.
Hey, Wesley. Aaron Blount is on. Aaron was with me at Limestone College.
Good for you.
The strength coach. Phenomenal.
Oh, I could use a strength coach.
Hey, Angela.
Hey.
Rescue 22 rapping tonight.
How come I don't have one of those?
You gotta have one.
I got a dog from there. Standing right there.
Yeah, let's see if we can do this.
He's not sure what's going on.
There he is.
How do I? Oh, his phone has gone behind the discord. Give me 1 second. He won't be able to take it.
Angela, we're going to try to get a picture of Otto. There he goes. Bob, you know that song. This Will Stand by the Showmen. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for being on. We've had quite a week in Shelby, North Carolina. The Parkinson's boxing class is a big hit. We have how many now, Becky?
What's that?
Parkinson's boxing. Becky will be joining us with a minute. She's bringing me a Kong with peanut butter in it. Yeah. Angela, you know what I'm talking about. We have 7, 6, 7, 8 maybe. We have, let's see, one person with Alzheimer's and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Parkies. Yes, and then their caregivers, and now the caregivers are involved. So it's fantastic time at Embrace the Shake boxing class on Wednesday night at Strike Fit in Shelby. Our good friend Brian Jones is allowing us to use his dojo. And we do boxing and balance and footwork, and we talk Parkinson's and we learn about it. And it's just fantastic what's going on here in Shelby.
Well, I don't think it's just the boxing class, though, to talk about. I told
Becky Wright.
Hey, I told 2 people on my hall today at Gardner-Webb University, don't mess with me. You don't want to mess with me because I've been taught how to block.
Hard blocking,
Hard
man.
blocking.
Hard blocking.
Scared some people. Scared Woody Fish. Woody Fish said to tell you, quit showing me how to do stuff like that.
All right.
Yep.
Well, Becky and I are together tonight, and I'm glad to have her on. And then each week we're going to start interviewing people, and it's just going to really take off. And what we wanted to highlight tonight was Becky now has a service dog named Otto. And for those of you that may be watching tonight, if you see the moniker at the right, AC, that's Angela Connor from Rescue 22 Foundation, is responsible for Moose to come to Jim Prevost and responsible for Otto coming to Becky Wright.
Wow. Thanks, Angela. Good job with them. Yeah.
You saved us.
Yeah, really.
You saved us. And for those of you that are not familiar with Rescue 22, it is an organization that rescues animals from different types of platforms, shelters, discarded animals, and Angela could address that better than I can. Hey, Troop, Dr. Rackley skates is at Limestone with me.
Okay.
And Marla, also Brooke Patterson, I've known her a long time.
No.
Maggie McDaniel, one of my former students, just great people. Jessica Burge, one of my former students. But to get back to Rescue 22, Angela, Becky, and I can't say enough of what you've done for us by getting Otto and Moose into our lives. And Becky's going to talk about Otto and kind of tell his story about how she came into meeting this fine young dog, and how she had to do some traveling to pick him up. And Angela arranged everything, and Otto came trained. And so, Becky, it's essentially your show tonight.
Wow.
So let's get the dopamine juices flowing. So I'm going to ask you a really odd question.
Okay.
Not necessarily odd, just different. What's your favorite Parkinson's boxing martial arts technique? Power slap, palm strike, fist, headbutt, blocking, kneeing. What do you like to do the best?
It's a toss-up between the boxing, and I didn't get to do it much 2 weeks ago because I just brought Otto, but I'd like to really get really good with the boxing because I think it would make me steadier and more confident. But I really liked the blocking last night because the blocking, I think, is going to help me realize, and it did last night, that once I block somebody, I think it's going to surprise them to start with because I'm not a real big person, but have a little bit of muscle. And I think the blocking and being able to think at the same time, get that knee up and hit them, or take the fingers and poke them in the eye. And I think I really enjoy doing that.
And Becky does that, and they don't know the Mo block. She's got it.
Yeah. Oh.
The Mo block. You know, when Mo used to go like that.
Oh.
Curly.
The Three Stooges.
The Three Stooges.
I forgot about
Here's
that.
Two Stooges right here.
Exactly.
Right.
See, not much memory. Okay, well, we got to get a third stooge in here.
Yeah,
we'll do that.
Bob Bott, he's from Jersey. He's a stooge.
Okay,
yeah,
well, Bob, you can
bull.
be the third one then.
Foreign objects not allowed. Yeah, he's a big wrestler.
Anyway,
all right, Becky. So tell us a little bit about your Parkinson's symptoms that you have, and then we'll kind of matriculate that into getting hooked up with Angela Connor, also AC, and about our D. God bless D. D, thank you. D brought Moose. She had Moose.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, from Miami. D, love you. Love you. Love you. You would be so proud of Moose. And it's because of you and Angela and Eric and everybody. He is just absolutely magnificent. Dog. Becky's been around. She had lunch with Moose. Yeah. And
he didn't bite me.
Didn't bite. And he
thought about it.
Yeah, he thought for a minute. But he's very docile. He gets along well with my students, follows his commands well, and he's getting better every day. He now weighs 82 pounds, and he's not hefty, is he? He's not overweight. He is just all muscle. And D, golly, thank you so much. I promise you I'm going to get down your way one day and see you, and I'm going to see AC. But we're going to highlight Becky tonight. So, Becky, kind of tell us about your Parkinson's as a review for those that have already met you.
Okay.
And for folks that I don't know you.
Okay.
Because you're right all the time, aren't you?
I'm right all the time, beginning to end. Started out as a right, and I'm going to go back to heaven as a right. Beginning, well, most of my Parkinson's is my voice. Dry eyes because of all the medicine. So a lot of times squinting and trying to see through the sunshine, have to wear 2 pairs of sunglasses when I'm outside. And it's my speech, a lot of my speech. Sometimes I think that doesn't even sound anywhere near like me. walking, first getting up, later in the day, shuffling. The bottoms of all my shoes are getting worn because I end up on my toes and shuffling around. And but I still consider myself a runner. I think once you run a half marathon, 13.1 miles, which I did in 2010, you're a runner. If you can make it 13.1 miles, you're a runner. And it did, thanks to Dr. Jeff Hartman and Shana Hartman. But it's a lot of my walking. I can tell in my hands because in using the class that Jim's teaching, I think I really like it because it's making me use my hands more. And I realized today as I walked down the hall that I was flexing my hands out more and trying to push my fingers back and make them more flexible because my left hand just doesn't want to seem to close. And when I see it in something and see how they turn, it really looks like another person to me. But anyway, the flexibility, I've lost that, being able to multitask a lot. Fortunately, I can still type on a computer keyboard and have to do that every day at work. So I am still able to work full time, thank the Lord. But a lot of it is speech, and my voice gets very, very low. And I realize people are doing like this, and they're so kind. They won't say, "Can you speak up a little bit?" They just keep leaning forward. And so I try to speak up. To me, I'm yelling, like even right now, I'm yelling. But I noticed it in the tremor in my left hand, and my granddaughter did because my thumb wouldn't be still. And then I noticed that my gait in running, I was dragging my left foot, dragging the toes, and then it wouldn't pick up. And then it's flat-footed now instead of being heel to toe. And so it's a constant think about it. And a monotone voice. And so I get tired of even hearing myself. Do you ever get tired of hearing yourself? Because I get tired of hearing myself because I was like, it's just on a plane to itself. But
I got really monotone for a while, and I'm raspy. So
yeah, I get raspy too. I'm raspy in the mornings because I can't have coffee anymore.
Right.
And so in the mornings, I try to keep sipping on my hot water, trying to get my throat cleared up enough with my Nasonex, and eventually it does. And then in the evenings again, in talking much, it gets raspy again. But yeah, so it's just things like that, just enough to be annoying to myself and to other people. But
which is normal for us. Though.
Right. And I mean, I don't even think about it. And the good thing about it in your group as well, with the 10 that were there last night as well. 10 people.
That's this many.
That's that many. I put them right in the same place, and they'll be exactly the same. Hope your thumb doesn't bother you as much as mine does.
Yeah, look at it.
I know. What's this? Whatever this is right here.
This is, see how our thumbs are starting to flatten?
Yeah. See this right here.
It's called CMT, and what's happening is that the nerve is starting to lose its ability to fire, so we're developing a pocket.
Oh.
So what will happen is that this indentation will be much deeper as we get older.
Oh, really? Yeah. I'm glad you told me.
But we'll have it together.
Prepare.
So yeah, because your hands and my hands are the same.
Right, because I noticed today when I was trying to do my push-ups that in my hand being up like this, I could tell this was entirely different than this hand was.
You can't see it, but you see how our thumbs drop.
Yeah, it drops.
Right in here, and then the alignment.
Yeah.
Oops, the alignment is right there. See, her alignment is just, so she's losing a lot of her musculature in there. And
I squeeze, I keep a flexible ball on my desk, and I try to squeeze that pretty regular, but even doing that, it gets to hurting so much that I have to stop at some point. But that's pretty much how it's been. And so I went from running 5, 6, or 7 miles a day at lunchtime during an hour to a year and a half ago, I was down to 4 miles a day. Now I'm down to 3 a day, but it's still 3 a day. So, I'm okay with that if I can just continue that. And it does help. So, And I think I plan on Otto helping that as well, and get back to walking more and more. I think I'll feel more stable with him. I have anyway. He's pretty strong.
If now everybody gets this,
because your head's
but I
not
want
like
to show
this.
you something, Becky, if I may.
Oh, sure.
Right here.
Yes.
You see where she has the dip?
Mm-hmm.
And here.
Yeah, see, you can even tell right
and
here.
And I'm the same as you. You see it?
Yeah.
This is a sign of Parkinson's voice problems as far as swallowing.
Oh, really?
Okay, and raspy voice because the platysma and the muscles that are responsible for this are deteriorating, and we don't have the stabilization in this zone right here in the thyroid zone, so to speak. So
there's not a lot you can do for that.
No, there's not.
I mean, exercise.
I think it looks good on us.
It will.
Yeah, a little high collar. Yeah. Good, right?
Oh no, I'm thinking,
You're gonna go
learn. Well, what's happened? Well, no, I do pearls. You need to do something else.
I'll do something else.
I do pearl. I don't even do pearls anymore though, because pearls were my thing really. But what I found is because I'm holding my head out and down a lot, I can't hardly take a necklace being on my neck. And I wear a necklace every day for years, especially pearls. And it just aggravates me now. So I don't tend to do that.
I'm sorry I'm not calling everybody out tonight, but Brandy Green's our wrestling coach at Limestone Women's Wrestling Coach. She's been at the Olympic level. And Jim and Bob Sherburne on tonight. Many of my brothers are on tonight. Donnie Brown, a former player, is a physician.
Okay.
Jimmy Martin, I've talked about Jimmy. Jimmy had a stroke. He's my daily motivation. Jimmy's going to be the next guy I interview before I interview Daryl. All right. So, Becky, tell everybody, if you would, before we get into your story. I know we're running a little drift, but let's tell them about the not by name because we keep their names private.
Right.
But tell them about tell everybody tonight about the different levels of Parkinson's that we have that come to class.
Yeah. Oh, it's humbling because there's, let's see, I think you're probably in the best shape of any of us, starting with you, because you've been diagnosed the least amount of time.
Right.
And you're in good shape because of, I know you've kept yourself in good shape and you know how to. So there's your level.
I'm also medicated very differently than everybody else.
Okay.
And I mean really differently. And that's, yeah.
Well, medicine's better though. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Teach me the medicines and I will remedicate myself. So,
what I got left you can have.
I took a pharmacy.
Hello, Paul from Seattle, fraternity brother of mine. Paul's been on many times before.
I try to pay attention to them.
Go ahead.
Forgot what I was saying. So
you must have Parkinson.
I must.
Okay. Talking about our group.
Oh yeah,
the different types, different levels.
It's a really great group, though. I really, really love everybody in there because we all try so hard to do what you're showing us to do because we want to do better and we strive to do better. And I could tell coming home last night, even though I've had a refit class for 45 minutes at work, thank you, Debbie Ware, at lunchtime at Gardner Webb, and worked hard, that I came out of there last night with a lot more energy just from the, I can't remember, blocking. The blocking.
And we did some good footwork.
And footwork. And I did that today as I went down the hall. I was trying to do footwork because it made me more stable, and I felt more stable today because of that. So, and then there's me, and I shuffle a little more, have a little more trouble with my speech and my voice. I'm unsteady at times because I'm on my toes too much or I start falling back. If I don't keep my feet, grounded in the way Jim's teaching. And then there's a person who is in the wheelchair sometimes and with the cane sometimes. And they're just really, really a motivation to me because they, doesn't matter what Jim asks to do, they're going to do it. And they're going to get up and do it out of that wheelchair without that cane as well. So they've gotten out of a wheelchair, they've put their cane down, and they're still throwing those hands up, blocking as hard as they can. And I just dare somebody to try to fight with that person.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
they're down.
They better hang on.
Really, because that cane is going to be in places that they really don't want it. But
Right.
so, that's in a wheelchair with the cane, struggles to walk, doesn't have as much use of one arm and hand or leg, but really doing well, I think, doing great. There is one that is a little bit further along that is able to walk with a cane, but freezes at times. I'm fortunate that my legs and feet don't really freeze, very seldom.
Yeah.
It's my hands that do a lot of times, but has legs that freeze, and so he can't sit down. He's got to wait for somebody to help him sit down. And then even still feels unsure about, moving back because he can't do it himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so has to have help. Well, then there's another one who is probably in the worst shape, but very motivated. And I'm just extremely proud to know all these people because they get up and try as hard as they can try. And the shaking might get worse because it does for me, and I'm sure it does for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The harder I work, the more I tend to shake. And yet they get right up out of that chair and use that cane and work as hard as they possibly can to whatever Jim's asking from us. And so last night when it was throw punches, 10 times at, what do you call that thing we were hitting?
The magic square.
Magic square. I have to pay better attention to what you call things.
-10.
Hitting that 10 times, watching each of these people that are at progressively worse places, of the 5 of us, each one is a little worse than the one before. And yet they're up out of those chairs. I'm going to have a hard time telling this.
Okay.
They are so motivating for me because I can still stand there and they get up and just fight as hard as they can fight. This is the part I don't like about this as much as the emotions and the fear. And it's just part of it. And I don't like the fear. But that's what I like about your class is and I was telling Woody today and Stephanie in the president's office what I learned last night and how I think I would be less fearful.
Right.
I would still have fear, but with what you showed us last night in the blocking, even in our hands out, if I can just think enough junk to say to people, I don't know if I can do hands and shuffle feet and talk junk all at one time. I'm not sure I can do all 3 of that at one time.
You talk Army language to the individual, or you can just talk very calmly and use verbal judo, and it just blows their mind.
Well, I could do that and just say, let's just stop a minute and pray about this.
Sure.
Do you really want to hurt me?
Yeah.
I really don't have anything that's going to help you, but put those hands up and try my best to remember to block no matter what. So, but each one's worse than the one before. So,
Dr. Rackley Skates asked a question.
Okay.
Why is there so much difference in the medication? I think I can come back to that. Let me see. Virginia, you're going to answer your question. Why is there such a difference in the medications? Is there a normal protocol per se? Do you really think there's like a standard thing that everybody takes Cinnamate, which is
I think that's
carbidopa
the only
levodopa.
thing that's
Yeah.
common is when I talk to people and I ask about medicines, they always take the Cinemat, which if there's any chance my grandchildren are watching, that's the carbidopa levodopa that you guys like to say real fast, carbidopa levodopa. Everybody's on that because you pretty much have to have that. It just might be a different amount, but I'm on the Azilect as you are too, and there's a lot of people on that. I'm not real fond of taking that since it's an MAOB inhibitor.
But it slows
it's
it down.
fantastic.
It slows it down.
Yeah, it is a great drug.
And when we talk with the other folks in our class together, they see Becky and I, and we're not in the stages that they are. It makes us want to question, like, why are you so advanced in just 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm rolling on year 3. Becky, you're year
8.
And we know that the disease is individualized, but it
Mm-hmm.
makes you question, like, what in the heck is wrong with that doctor?
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, well, have you tried Azilect? No. And Becky and I take Azilect, and it slows the disease down. It doesn't stop. It slows the progression down. The progression's constant, right?
It's coming.
But another thing is, like, Becky doesn't take Rytari, and I do. Rytari is just a different type of carbidopa levodopa. It's in a different ingredient qualities. Because I wasn't responding to carbidopa levodopa. Excuse me.
Well, mine may have to be changed because I'm up to 5 a day versus 3 a day.
Right, and I take Rytari. I take 3 a day times 5 times a day. Mm-hmm. And then I take Azilect, and then I take the regular carbidopa levodopa, and that's my medications, But I used to take 27 pills a day, and my doctor's very aggressive, and his philosophy is, what the hell you got to lose, And I just want to say this, sometimes people say to Becky, you don't look like you have Parkinson's, but I want to assure you that we are both working very hard to look like we're going to have it, okay?
Yeah.
So we're working on our head wiggling a little bit, and we talking low, and so we're trying to get the Parkinson look.
Whatever that
is. And I think what's been good for my wife is that she is now seeing Parkinson's patients at different levels, like up close and personal.
Well, it's good for me to see.
Sure. I guess I'm weird. I don't fear what's going to happen to me because there's nothing I can do about it. I can just fight like Becky's doing. And we got our faith in the right place. And in the grand scheme of things, I feel like I've seen worse because of another career. But when I have the friends that I have in just the Parkinson's community that we have, I mean, it's like we're immediately tight.
Right.
And it's getting bigger because we picked up 2 last night.
Right.
And it's just wonderful. We also have an individual in there that has Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And they'll remain nameless. And the thing that's helped out with the person that has Alzheimer's is trying to remember the punch sequences, how many times right, how many times left. And that really works that organizational memory that's starting to weigh a little bit. And the discoordination that person's having because of the Alzheimer's, not the discoordination we have, but not being able to get the hand in the magic square because they can't visualize it. Where we can use visual cues, they have a hard time using visual cues that are not like real. When I say magic box, we can imagine a box. They can imagine the box, but that box doesn't stay in one place. So if they're supposed to punch the box in front of them and that hand goes out here by accident, what happens is that's the position of the box. It's not back where it's supposed to be. So that helps that person.
I was going to say I think the reason people look at me sometimes when I tell them this is my 8th year because I'm 68. I was diagnosed at 60, which is usually common, right around 60. It's got to be because I ran the half marathon at 59 and my gait changed right after that. That's when I started having the problems, but it has to be because I exercise. You know, I have weights laying over there, and every single night I do weights. I use machines at work. I take refit classes. The boxing and the self-defense we're learning. That is really making a difference, huge difference. So every little thing I think we do like that, Alzheimer's, MS, anything, any kind of disease like that, especially involving your brain in the way that Parkinson's is, or Alzheimer's, or MS, movement disorders, you will feel better, you will think better, you'll be a lot clearer if you just keep moving, you know, left, right, left, right. Just get up and move. Don't sit. Right. Don't just give up, you know. And that's what I see in these people on Wednesday night in your classes. They don't give up. They keep trying whatever they can try to get better. Right. And it does make you somewhat better. Of course, it's not going to cure it, and you're not going to get completely better, but you can feel better, and you can be around a group of people who understand you and feel a lot better with that.
And we all speak mumble, don't we?
Mumble.
Look what your boy wrote. Kevin Queen is Becky's son.
Thanks.
Okay.
It's because I have people to fight for.
That's right.
To stay.
That's
people
right.
I don't want to leave, and so you guys are the reason I fight. Kids and grandkids, my son-in-law, my brothers, my sister,
yourself,
myself.
There you go.
My friends.
Yeah.
That's who I fight for.
We are the original shuffle shaggers.
Didn't know that. Well, that's not a bad thing to be.
Yeah. I can't wait till Marianne and I and Becky shag. Now, we won't shag all together at one time. We'll take
I don't
turns.
know.
But yeah, we might have to go hold each other. She can hold both of us up.
Last Saturday night, poor Scott Beam ended up having his wife and three other single ladies, I think most of us were, all in a circle dancing at the same time. So it can be done.
Okay.
It can be done.
Now, let's get back to the top. Did Dr. Skates, did that answer your question enough?
People are at different places.
Yeah, people are different places and different types of different neurologists. Like my neurologist is a Parkinson specialist. Lieutenant Newton, good to see you, buddy. Rick and John went to Wofford together, and they're both in the military, and that's about as far as I can discuss what they do.
Okay.
All right.
I know I had a dad in the military, 22 years, and I don't know what all he did either. I just know the military is tough, and I appreciate all of you, all of your service.
The thing with the medications is, like, I go to a Parkinson specialist, and the individual that we know that has Alzheimer's that's in our group, they go to an Alzheimer's specialist, and yours is a Parkinson specialist, correct?
Right. A Parkinson movement disorder
specialist. So it's what they feel comfortable with, and they feel each is meets what the person meets. Is that a new word I've just made up?
Well, you might as well. I mean, there's not.
But you understood what I was saying. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So we're going to talk about the wonderful, the one and only Otto.
Yeah,
Otto. And let me see if I can turn this without bothering Otto.
And he's laying there. Look at his ears perk up.
There's Otto.
I guess he got all the peanut butter out of his big cone.
Yeah. Otto is Becky's service dog from Rescue 22.
Yay, Rescue 22, Angela Connor.
Right. Angela Connor has just been so kind and gracious to all of us. And now Rescue 22, of course, we have to think about Howard and Lisa Young, right?
Right. I haven't met them, but
right.
I have met
coming.
Lisa.
Right.
I met Lisa, but I have not met her husband.
Right. And Howard's and Lisa now have a new dog. His name,
that.
Jaeger, which means hunter. And
my grandson's name's Hunter.
And he's a Dutch Shepherd. So Beautiful
Beautiful
dog.
dog.
Beautiful, very
Mhm.
smart.
Mhm.
So we're going to talk about Otto and Becky. So Becky, tell us all about Otto.
Okay, well, Angela, if I get it wrong, correct me, okay? The day I talked to you, I made notes, which I
Yes, Alex, Moose was a rescued dog before it became a service dog. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Answer anything that comes up. I wrote down as much as I possibly. You want me to feed you
No,
so you
I'm
don't
good.
have to eat candy bars?
I got to eat my candy bar. It's my once a week candy bar.
Oh, okay. Angela Connor is actually at Rescue 22 in New Jersey, and so I believe I've got this right that her parents live in California, and he was actually in California to start with. He's 3 years old, and she made arrangements to bring him to New Jersey after visiting her parents. Let's see, he had all of his shots. Thank goodness. He does have a microchip. They were low on space in the Downey, California shelter, and he spent 10 days in a vet hospital. So obviously he wasn't taken care of until he got to Angela and Rescue 22. You might have to stand up and keep your shirt up there to remind them. Rescue 22. Don't forget about Rescue 22. And so once he was in the vet hospital and they did the health check, he was transported to Angela, and she had him for 3 months, I believe, is what you told me, Angela, or I may have it wrong. He didn't have any obedience training. He had been a yard dog, like in the backyard, where people just leave the dog out there and never speak or, or do anything to help them or walk them. And so she called the people at Ridgeside. Those are other good people. Ridgeside Canine in Jacksonville is where I went to get Otto. And Will, I can't think of Will's last name. Whitting. Will's super good too. Well, between Angela and Will, two super people. I'd love to meet you sometime, Angela. Come anytime. I told Will that too. Welcome anytime. As he was with Will at Ridgeside Canine. And then Howard Young, that you mentioned, knows the people there, Will and Aaron. And they had Otto for 5 weeks and put him through training. If you need a dog trained, you need to, and you're in Jacksonville or the surrounding area, you need to take them to Ridgeside Canine, because this dog understands what I say to him. And I've got a little remote control. They sent me with the remote control for him.
And a vest.
And a vest. And medicine. Well, Angela sent with him too the medicines and things. He's in such better health now. He has a really good coat on him, really shiny, really, really good coat. So Ridgeside, they had him 5 weeks and worked with him to teach him the training and the words. And then when I went to get Otto, Will worked with me and told me what the words were and had me go through and do those with Otto as well. So his muscles are building. He's in much better shape than he was when Angela took him to rescue. I mean, when she first got him at Rescue 22. Right. He's in much better shape. He loves to walk. He loves to ride. Let's see. I haven't put him in with any male dogs. That's the one thing he's having to learn. But he hasn't had any problem walking so far, and I hope he won't have any. He loves to play with the tennis ball. He loves going to fetch the ball as well. He loves chewing on bones. Will and Angela just did a fantastic, amazing job with him. I can't imagine him being in the shape he must have been in when they got him. So if you're looking for rescue dogs, look to them as first. Angela's in New Jersey. Look up Rescue 22.
Rescue 22 Foundation.
And Will is in Jacksonville. But I believe they also have a place in Virginia.
Yes, they do.
Right. So there are other
Loudoun
places.
County.
Okay. But it's Ridgeside Canine. And my mouth's sticking together, so I'm really getting to my mumbling. I could be a drunk. I've never been drunk in my whole entire life. Never. But I swear I could act like it because I feel like it sometimes. And the more I talk, the more my mouth's sticking together and the more I sound like one. But
Angela, the guy below you, Bob Bott, lives in Brick, New Jersey. We were college roommates together. Bob, Angela was monumental in bringing Moose into my life. So let's talk about what Otto does for you and means to you and what you mean to him.
Well, he makes me feel a lot safer, that's for sure. I was a little intimidated by him. I still am at times because he's big. His tail is about 4 foot long. I've closed, Angela, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I've closed the door on it twice because the dog is so long and the tail is so long that I thought he was all the way through, but I didn't close it completely. But he didn't hold it against me anyway. But he makes me feel safer because he seems to just be there for me. He's almost bit Jim the first time he was around him.
No, he didn't almost. He just let me know who was in charge.
Right. Well, he growled.
Growled. I growled right back.
Yeah. But he had just been with me one day.
Right, and he'd had a 6-hour car ride, and he had all kinds of trips, and the boy had been through it. And
I know.
I was over near him, and I was near Becky, and he just growled to let me know, like, look, this is the person I'm supposed to be looking out for, and you're a little bit too close to her, and I'm just going to grumble a little bit.
And Angela, he got between us.
Yeah, he did. And
real quick.
And I was I not excited about this?
Oh, yeah.
Look, he got right between us, and he's already bonded with you. I think that was absolutely perfect.
So 2 days.
Intuitive and protective. And now he and I have a wonderful relationship, I'm in his house within 6 feet of him, and he's on the floor, and I'm not looking at him or paying attention, and he's like, I got my eye on you, Jim. Okay, you're all right, but I got my eye on you. All right.
He is intuitive, though,
very
Angela,
intuitive.
because my son was here. My son lives in Atlanta, but he had a wonderful dog for 17 years that rode in a truck with him. But so I told him when he was here a couple weeks ago, sit on the porch right there and let me just walk him by you. Don't look at him. Don't talk to him. Don't, act like you're coming toward me. Just sit there. And we walked by several times, and he kind of glanced over, and he didn't try to growl or bark or anything. And we walked by, and I had him sit and gave him a treat. And so I walked back a couple more times, and I'd given my son a couple treats. And so when we came back by the last time, my son Kevin held his hand out open, and Otto took the treat, and he said, good dog. And so I walked him by a couple more times, and he came back by, and when we passed my son again, he stopped, and he sat down and waited for that treat, and he handed him another treat. And so guess what, Angela, for the rest of the weekend, my son could, be with him, throw the ball for him. So, we've seen the right way we can treat him, and he'll be fine. As far as other people being around me, you just can't, I guess, charge at me or anything. But very protective. I mean, that was I came from Jacksonville the day before, and no, I'd come that day. I'd come that day. And
yes, he does have a high food drive.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. What you said, that he was food motivated, that's exactly right. But my last dog was a rescue dog, and she was the same way. She'd do anything to get food. No matter what I said, she would do it. So he's the same way.
So Becky, do you think it's being it's a little different to be a handler of a service dog than it is to be a handler of, let's say, a family pet dog? Is there a lot more
Yes.
to it?
There is, because you know, my grandchildren have just been used to coming in. When I got my last dog, I had her almost 10 years, and they just came right in and hugged on her and everything. But he's got a job, and already he knows that job is me. And so he's constantly, I mean, even with my son, his eyes would, you know, move from side to side, like checking it out. Is everything okay here? So he knows it's a job, obviously, because of the way he got between you and I, but it is different. And so when I've walked, I've told my neighbor, don't run up and try to pet this dog. He's working right now, and that's what his focus is on.
And that's why we wear a vest.
Right. So if you run up, you're interfering with what he's doing, and that's protecting me and helping me. So very different than just a family pet. But I don't think it will take long to where my family embraces him as they come. But
You know,
he's been
Angela,
good.
we're teaching, like you say, great for training new tasks as you need them. And you know, there's a lot of turnkey operations for service dogs. Like, oh, you need a mobility service dog? Well, for $14,400, you can get a turnkey dog. And I really got to credit Howard Young for I think hitting the nail right on the head, so to speak, is that he trained Moose along with me to a certain level for Moose to meet the things that I needed then. And as I progress, new training comes on board. So as Becky progresses, because Otto's a Velcro dog, isn't he?
Yes.
He's right there. So he's already naturally bracing her. So if she needs a little assistance, he can put her hand on him right now and just not even have to give a brace command. Just use that tactile stimulation of that dog being touched from the top. And then when it's required, they start teaching brace and reward, brace and reward, brace and reward, because the relationship's the first thing, you know.
Oh, I think he'll do anything for a reward,
sure.
is the thing. You know, when we walk, he walks up against my left leg, and he doesn't move from that. It's like, as long as he knows where my left leg is, right about at my knee, then he's okay, and that's what's guiding him. And so he already knows that.
Alex, how long does it take normally for a service dog to be professionally trained to help other people with physical or mental disabilities? Alex, that's actually, and first of all, it's an incredible question. It really depends on what the disability is and the advancing stages of the disability. It can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to a year. And Angela, you go ahead, step in on that, because you do this all the time. And for Otto and Moose, it's ongoing, so it's for the rest of our lives. Now, Alex, with your autism, that's a different type of training, and actually that's not as long as, let's say, it doesn't have to go to residence for a long time. They can do an ongoing training with autism that would help you. And your training will be ongoing, because as your life changes, you know, you work and you have your own home now and you're independent.
Good for you, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, really, you know, and that the dog that you want will fit you and will fit the needs that you have. You know, anywhere from good, strong companionship to protection to balance assist, maybe, or fetching something if you've lost it. But one thing is that service dogs are now coming into the autistic realm, Alex, and also into the spectrum, the autistic spectrum that they're using now, versus Asperger's versus autism. So I think that's a great question that Alex asked. And Alex, there are folks that do train dogs for autism, and there's a place in Charlotte, North Carolina. We can talk offline about that or off the show about that. But when and I keep asking Alex, when you're ready, we would love to interview her.
Oh yeah, I'd love to meet you,
Yeah.
Alex. Yes.
And Alex, you're welcome to come to boxing if you would like. We would love to have you
Absolutely.
because you are a celebrity, and
Oh yeah.
So, Angela, thanks for answering that question to help everybody out. One thing that I'd like to say, and just Becky, tolerate my straightforwardness. One thing that I have seen since Otto's come into Becky's life is an incredible gain in self-confidence. And, she accepted the challenge of a sight unseen dog on recommendations of people, one person she knew, the next person she met by phone, and then Will Wittig out at Ridgeside in Jacksonville. I mean, brought Moose from Loudoun County down to Jacksonville and trained him and kept him. And I mean, people doing things and paying it forward, never met each other to help out, to save animals and give them forever homes. And then when she came into boxing class that night and had Otto to her side, he was right there. He was attentive on the leash. She had good leash control. It wasn't taut. She held it like a static line with the group, and she had her little buzzer, so to speak, the e-collar mechanism in her hand, and she didn't have to go above her normal tone. And Angela, because of the training that you guys set up for her, Otto for Becky, I mean, they're a perfect match. And the way he looks at her, where he's always checking.
Oh, he is always.
Always checking, right? And that's the way you can tell a fake versus a real service dog. They're always checking on their handler. They're communicating non-verbally, usually through the leash, and they're communicating by body language. And I'm sure he's already picking up on your gait very well because he changes his walk when you're with him. So Otto is
he walks almost like he's afraid to put his paw down. Yeah. That's how easy he walks.
Right.
It's almost like he's walking on a cloud. It's not a hard, paw down. It's like he's walking very easy, trying to wait and see, is she going to keep going or, what's she going to need?
And one thing, like when Becky's children come to the house, Becky will put Otto in Otto's room, and that is Otto's room. That's nobody else's room. And like Moose's crate is in a certain room in the house, and if I say crate, he goes, and that's his space. Just like place is his space. Nobody else goes on place. And when my small granddaughter comes, she's just 16 months old. I put Moose in the crate. I let Moose see her, and then I put him in the crate. And I just think that as handlers, we have to always be concerned about safety. And
I'm very concerned about that.
Right.
Because I had him in a crate to start with, but he didn't want to be in that crate. He wanted to be on his bed, his place. And so he maneuvered that crate to where that crate's outside now.
He tore it up.
He tore it up. He raised the 2 bars up and climbed through. So there is no crate in there.
One thing that Moose does that at one time I had concern, but here's what's happened in the past 2 weeks. Moose has barked. I know that stuns everybody because he never barks.
Really?
But both times that he has barked at a student, he was asleep on underneath my desk because he likes to get underneath my desk. And that student walked into my office without knocking or announcing. And there's 2 huge signs on my door, and one outside the door on either side of the door jamb, and then one in the middle. Out in the hallway, there's at least 2 to 3 on each of the halls. In my classroom on the outside, and Moose is laying down sleeping. I mean, the boy works from 4 o'clock in the morning on. And that person comes walking in. Hey, Dr. Privos, how you doing? I wonder if you can answer a question. And he came straight up and started barking. And he barked about 3 times. I called him off. I told him still, which is Dutch for quiet or stop barking or whatever you want to say it is, but it's be quiet. And he stopped immediately. And one of my other handlers that helps me in the building came down to my office thinking that maybe Moose was calling for help. And you see how by that student not doing what they were supposed to do created not only a little bit of a havoc, but an embarrassing situation. But the athletic trainer that came down to my office had to have another person take their patient and then come down and check on me. And I was absolutely fine. So that's why folks got to be mindful of service dogs, right?
They're working dogs. They're on. They punched in and they're on their job.
Mary Norris, she was Mary Zeppenfeld. We went to high school together, and junior high school together when it was junior high.
Oh yeah, I went to junior high too.
I loved her to death and still love her to death. She lives on the Outer Banks with a wonderful husband. Nice, wonderful family.
Beautiful place.
Mary, thank you for coming on tonight. Well, we're going to shut it down unless you have something else to add. You good to go?
I'm good to go.
Good
if
to
they're
go.
Good to go. I'm good to go.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please just go ahead and send them on and we'll answer them anyway. We're going to play a little beach music to end it up. This is General Johnson, Chairman of the Board, 39-21-46 shake.
It's never been me. Never sight to see.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on tonight. Yeah. Bob, remember shagging out at the frat house, my friend? Great time.
Come shag with Shelby Shaggers, man. We'd love to have you go on talking louder and look at his raised up.
You're fine.
You could make a blind man see. You could make a crippled man walk. You could make the quietest man in the world talk.
You still got a good voice.
Nobody else would do. Every little boy in town wants to get his arms around you, but no one else will do but you. With your 39-21-46.
It ain't me. I'm just showing you my shirt. Not me. I got my.
All right, Team Bikini, baby.
Bikini on today. Yeah, you guys need to come dance with us.
You could make a blind man see. You could make a crippled man walk. You could make the quietest man in the world talk. Yes, nobody else will do. Every little boy in town wants to get his arms.
Sergeant Whitney, you take care, man. Shoot, scoot, and communicate. Love you, brother. This will defend. Good night, Angela. We love you, man. Thanks for saving us. Thanks for saving us.
Thanks, Angel.
Quit getting over there, Becky. You gotta get closer.
Well, I can't get. You see, that's the way I lean. This is my leaning side.
We'll put an ambi-drag belt on you. Oh,
some kind of brace on me because I lean that way. That's where my spine goes. Thanks, everybody that did listen.
Thanks for being on tonight, and everybody always remember, embrace the shake. All right.
Oh, man.
That was
my son.
fantastic. Look at you.